Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of the first round of 32 watches going head to head in an ultimate Lume competition. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, please go back and watch that video so you can kind of learn the format, the rules, and also the first 16 watches that advance to the second round. Also, if you haven't done so already, please take a second to subscribe to the channel. It really goes a long way to help support the channel, works with the algorithms, and gets me out there. Looking at part 1 of the video, 96% of the viewers were not subscribed to the channel. Also hit that like button so I'll produce more content like this. And in part 2 of the first round, we've got seeds 9 through 24 going head to head. And those watches are, at number 9, we have the Steeldive SD 1993 Pepsi. Going up against the Cadisen C8193 in the 24 spot. At number 10 is the Thorn 50 Fathoms in bronze versus the Steeldive SD 1953 with the steel bezel. At number 11 is the Steeldive SD 1964 versus the Tandorio GMT Joker, seated at number 22. At number 12, the Thorn T012 GMT Titanium versus the Rollstimi number 13, the Steeldive SD 1994 versus the Tandorio GMT Batman. At number 14, the Tophill 1963 versus the Steeldive SD 1953 Black Submariner. At number 15 is the beautiful and elegant Sugess Moonphase with the aventurine dial versus the Tandorio GMT Root Beer. And in the 16th seed, we have the Illimite Melting Watch versus the final 17th seed, the Tactical Frog Solar Chronograph. And those are going to be our matchups. So let's get started. And up first is the Steeldive SD 1993 Pepsi versus the Cadisen C8193 Royal Oak Homage. And I'm going to try and do a little less talking and let the Lume do all the talking for me. But as you can see here, the hands are already beginning to fade on the Cadisen, while the Steeldive 1993 Pepsi is really going strong. So in this case, it looks like the SD 1993 will advance to the next round, while the Cadisen is eliminated. And here you have two real stunners. The Thorn 50 Fathoms in bronze and the Steeldive SD 1953 with the steel bezel. Looking at these two watches, the Lume is fantastic on both. You have the blue with the Steeldive along with the green from the Thorn 50 Fathoms, and you also have that loomed bezel on the Thorn. If I have to pick one, I have to lean towards the Thorn 50 Fathoms strictly because it has that loomed bezel. That top hat sapphire crystal really has a cool effect when it comes to the Lume. The Steeldive is no slouch, but I have to advance the Thorn 50 Fathoms while the Steeldive is eliminated. Next up is the Steeldive, the very large Steeldive SD 1964 versus the Tandorio Joker. And here, as you can see, Steeldives are always going to be a tough out, but with its fully loomed bezel versus the non-loomed bezel on the Joker, it's not much of a competition here. The Joker's already fading. So for this round, the Steeldive SD 1964 clearly moves ahead to the next round, while the Tandorio Joker is eliminated. The next matchup is the Thorn Titanium GMT Tuna Can versus the Rollstimi 137. Here you can see the bright blue BGW9 Lume on the Thorn. The Rollstimi's got some beautiful blue Lume on the hands, along with the green around the indices, but as you can see, it's fading fast. This round is going to clearly go to the Thorn, where the Rollstimi is eliminated. Next up is the Steeldive SD 1994 versus the Tandorio Batman. Both have beautiful Lume. I love the 3-color Lume on the Steeldive 1994. And as you can see, the hands are already starting to fade on the Tandorio Batman, while everything looks pretty bright on the Steeldive. The orange bezel is starting to fade, but those hands are still super bright, and so are the indices. This round is definitely going to go to the Steeldive, and the Tandorio Batman is eliminated. Next are two iconic designs, the 1963 from Tophill and the Submariner homage from Steeldive. Now what makes the Tophill unique is obviously the full lume dial and lumed hands. It also has a 40mm case and a sapphire crystal. But unfortunately, the lume is no match for the Steeldive SD 1953. It looks like the Steeldive is going to move to the next round, while the Tophill is eliminated. Next up is the Sugess Moonphase dial versus the Tandorio Root Beer GMT. Two different types of lume here, C3 on one, BGW9 on the other. You can see the hands on the Sugess are like spears in the dark, where the hands on the Root Beer are beginning to fade off. That second subdial on the Sugess is just continuing to spin, and you can really not see the hands any longer on the Root Beer. I would say that the Sugess advances to the next round, while the Root Beer is eliminated. Now the last matchup is the Illimite Melting Watch versus the Tactical Frog Solar Chronograph. And I really like how the hands are loomed on all the subdials of the Tactical Frog. Looking at the Illimite, unfortunately I guess I didn't wind it long enough because the second hand is stopped, but the lume is still going strong. It is beginning to fade compared to the Tactical Frog. The Tactical Frog faded to a point, and then it's like it hit a wall and it continued to stay there. I have to give this one to the Tactical Frog. It advances to the next round, taking the final spot, and the Illimite watch is eliminated. And here we have the 8 watches that are advancing to round number 2. We have the Steeldive SD 1993 Pepsi. We have the Thorn 50 Fathoms Bronze. We have the Steeldive SD 1964. We have the Thorn T012 GMT Titanium. We have the Steeldive SD 1994 GMT. We have the Steeldive SD 1953 Black Submariner in the upset. We have the Sugess Moonphase dial. And in the small upset, we have the Tactical Frog Solar Chronograph. And the matchups for round number 2 are going to be the number 1 seed, Spinnaker 50 Fathoms Watch versus the number 17 seed, Tactical Frog Solar Chronograph. Number 2 seed, Long Island Watch Calibro GMT versus the number 15 seed, Sugess Moonphase. Number 3 seed, Spinnaker Haas Long Island Watch Island versus the number 19 seed, Steeldive SD 1953 Black Submariner. The number 4 seed, Spinnaker Haas Long Island Watch Skyline Watch versus the number 13 seed, Steeldive SD 1994 GMT. At number 6, the San Martin SN 0116 Rainbow versus the number 11 Steeldive SD 1964. Number 7, we have the San Martin SN 109 BB58 Coke versus number 10, the Thorn 50 Fathoms Bronze. Number 8, the Bowderry Admiral GMT Titanium versus number 9, the Steeldive SD 1993 Pepsi. And last up is number 12, the Thorn T012 Mountain Titanium versus the Steeldive SD 1953 with the ice blue dial. And here are the 16 watches advancing to the second round. They are going to lined up above and below the watches that they're going head-to-head against. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different in the second round. Rather than a 10-minute lume test, I'm going to make it a little bit tougher and extend that to a 15-minute lume test to see whose lume lasts the longest. Guys, thanks very much for sticking around to the end. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to see you soon.